So, hello everyone, good morning. Thanks for joining for this session. We are having QuillAudits with us, and we'll be discussing a lot of questions and one use case related to Hyperledger, how audits are done and what are they up to, so that we can make some good decision in future. Over to Pradeep.
Sure.
If
Thanks,
you
Kartikey.
can
Good
give
morning,
some, yeah,
everyone.
some introduction will be, and from
Sure.
there you can pick up.
So, all right. Um, I'm Pradeep. I represent QuillAudits. I head the marketing division at QuillAudits. If anyone of you have already heard about QuillAudits, you would know what we do. For those who do not know, QuillAudits is basically in the business of securing smart contracts, securing Web3 projects, and we do it in a very passionate way, in a way that our mission speaks for itself. Our mission is we are here to make Web3 a safer place. The testament of that is we have done already 700 plus projects. The clients are global, are spread across the globe, and they speak highly of us. And if you look at the world's rankings, we are at number 3 or number 4. So we are a fast growing. We are making a very positive impact, and we audit smart contract, for the sole purpose of making the whole Web3 the Web3 technology to evolve in a positive direction. So this is about QuillAudits. This is about me. Uh, Sanket, do you want to share about what you do and at QuillAudits?
Sure. So, another thing I would like to add to Pradeep's description of QuillAudits is our CEO Preetham has said multiple times that the money is in the code, and if the money is in the code, but the code is written by developers, and developers are humans who make mistakes. So it's important that we do not undersign the flaws in the code, which could lead to potential disasters in terms of the funds that have been deposited by users into different protocols. So yeah, that's it. And my name is Sanket, and I work on different products in QuillAudits. So QuillAudits is a cybersecurity firm, and we do audits primarily, but simultaneously we are also developing cybersecurity products to automate cybersecurity, given the fact that audits do tend to be really difficult. But nonetheless, audits will not go anywhere because tools are only suggestive measures. And my role is to understand how we can benefit users and how we can give them options to assess the cybersecurity protocols implemented by different protocols before investing into them, and also understand the vulnerabilities present in smart contracts by developers that have been written by developers. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction.
Sure.
Karthikeya, maybe you can now tell a bit about what Hyperledger Hyderabad does and how have you been, working in
Yeah,
this space?
sure. So, Hyperledger Hyderabad is one of the oldest community which we have in India. It's one of the largest community under Hyperledger Foundation. We have close to 1,500 people, and Hyperledger is having different chapters all across India. Hyperledger Noida is there, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore. We rank second, just after Bangalore. And we used to organize all such meetups where developers can understand, take some idea, take some inspiration. So it's always an open source community, and I also contribute to Hyperledger Foundation in different ways. So let's move on to our today's topic. Shall we start with some questions, or you want to pick up some?
Sure. On that note, um, maybe I'll have a continuity of what you were talking about, and maybe you can answer the audience about that concept. Just wanted to ask in that regard, how does Hyperledger handle authentication and access control?
Uh, so Hyperledger have a different ways of handling it. Uh, we have our own set of rules and regulation which we can write it on configuration file, and then organizational level uh, dependencies are there depending on how you make the nodes. There we have authentication things. I'll take a pause 1 minute. Yeah, Pradeep,
Sure. Yeah, I'm here.
Pradeep, can we take some questions which you can answer?
For sure. Yeah, go ahead.
uh, like, have you done any audit for Hyperledger?
Sanket, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah. So, not to my knowledge, I mean, we usually work with Solidity and Rust-based projects on Solana, and majorly work on projects with Polygon and Binance Smart Chain. So, Hyperledger is, I believe, an enterprise level tech. Okay, my video is off, so sorry. Just a second. Yeah. So Hyperledger being an enterprise level technology and being a niche skill, I mean, the number of audits that do come are very less. So to be honest, our exposure to Hyperledger is very limited.
Okay. So I would also like to understand, there is one more thing called Hyperledger Bisu, which does work with Solidity and EVM based things. You can also upload something on Ethereum main network and something. So have you worked on some kind of audit with Hyperledger Bisu?
I mean, we in general avoid work. I mean, not as in avoid, but we don't have that sort of expertise working with Hyperledger Fabric. And the thing is that, as Pradeep earlier mentioned, I mean, I understand that it uses Solidity, but to be honest, since we don't have a lot of exposure to the infrastructure, and we tend to deal with individual protocols that are currently developing their projects with Solidity or Rust. So we have auditors that have expertise, that have built certain that have built certain protocols, on these languages. So we use our auditors are used to auditing protocols that are made on these languages. And since, as I mentioned, Pradeep also mentioned that our service is a testament to the best quality that is out there. And since we believe in making Web3 safer with the best quality as well, we avoid taking on projects that we can't deliver the best.
That's okay. Okay, so I have one more question if you
Sure,
can
sure.
take that.
Yeah.
Uh, let's say uh, how convenient it is to use some kind of libraries like OpenZeppelin. Like, do you
Mhm.
recommend using it or
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I got your question. Yeah. So, from a security standpoint, it's fine because all these libraries are audited, right? And already have the security implementations in place. So, what we do in terms of, so, okay, so in our audit process also, so firstly, we try to get a hang of the code quality while gathering the specifications from the clients. So, our focus is on the complex code that has been written by the developers of the project. And I mean, using standard libraries like OpenZeppelin or code from Uniswap or PancakeSwap, we usually comment out, or we consider that as dead code because these are already audited. This code is already audited, and the cybersecurity implementations are there. And then we try to look for consistent coding style and follow the style guidelines for Rust or Solidity. and then we make sure that the contracts can be compiled and tested, perform unit tests. So this is how we work. And I mean, there is no harm in using Open Zeppelin standard libraries, or taking code from different organizations that are open source and whose code has been audited.
Okay, thank you. And moving forward, I'll have one more question. So do you do mostly the audit of coding manually, or there are certain tools which you do?
Okay,
So
yeah.
how?
So basically, so as I mentioned, the first part is to look for the specifications and understand what the protocol, how the protocol wants the contract to behave, what is the intended behavior of the contract that it has coded. So as I mentioned, after testing the code, removing the dead code, and marking the complexity, marking the complex part of the code, what we do is we freeze the code and specify the commit hash. Oh, sorry, specify commit hash, yes. And then we do a manual review. As you guys already know, we look for unusual behavior, common security vulnerabilities, like the SCW guidelines and everything. So then we do functional testing, in which it is the contract is deployed in a sandbox environment, using hard hat, ganache, or different tools. We also do gas analysis, look for latest attack vectors, say escrow manipulation or access control authentication, token supply manipulation, things like that. And to your point, we also use different automated testing tools, like Mythex, Mythil, and then Solgraph or Solidity Courage also we use. We also use Slither. So we have a myriad of tools at our disposal, and we try and test all different tools. We also have some internal tools that we use, and part of my work in the coming months, I believe, would be to develop such tools to help us identify different attack vectors in code, and how the content in functions is wrapped and parsed through all that code to find dead code, and to find, I mean, as you mentioned, code in Open Zeppelin. So part of my work would be to find code that is already present in standard libraries, and then separate that from complex code, and then analyze the complex code for different attack vectors and possibilities of vulnerabilities and exploits.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for answering that. I
Yeah,
have few more questions.
sure, sure, sure. Please.
Uh, so the other question I would like from you to get it answered is, so developers always think through, like, before deploying it to main network, they should test it properly in some local environment or maybe on test network.
Yeah.
So let's suppose if I put something fishy on some vulnerability mistake, and I have put it on mainnet.
Yeah.
So now what will you advise?
I mean, the advice would be, I mean, obviously, if you're getting audited, the code audited, so I mean, we would have to redeploy the code by testing it for the vulnerability, and we'll have to test it in a sandbox environment by, as I mentioned, freezing the code and specifying the commit hash. And then we will audit the code manually for each line. And once we do find the vulnerability that could be exploited, we will try to fix the code and redeploy. Yes.
Acha, theek hai. So there's one question, maybe either you or Pradeep can answer. Somebody is asking in chat, what kind of skill we need to have a career in Web3 securities and future scopes? So I think you can also cover some bit of private blockchain also here, if
Sure. No, so we would love for you to actually give more insight on how a career in security for private blockchains, how a
yeah.
case for that could be made, because I mean, I honestly don't have a lot of exposure to that. So, what do you think?
So I would like to add in one point here. In order to make any career in this thing, one of the things that QuillAudits does is we have conducted one cohort wherein we train enthusiasts with basics of auditing, and so that they can start initiating these practices in their career, and step into the world of Web3 auditing and security. This is something that as a step to support Web3 guys. I think one of the things that is absolutely important in an evolution of a project is auditing itself. So any company or anybody who wants to enter into Web3, one of or who maybe who is an entrepreneur, or so these founders or entrepreneurs should take into consideration the security and auditing aspects, which means that in their technical team they should also have people who are knowledgeable about these things. So to support that and to drive such participation, we have already done this cohort, and the other cohorts are in the pipeline, which will be announced later. But this is just wanted to put this a word in, because
Yep.
it's totally worth it. Yeah.
So I think to answer the question exactly, an auditor is somebody who has good expertise with or the development part of things, because once you know how to code, probably and you know the nitty-gritties and the details and the techniques to sort of ensure, I mean, you know, the best practices basically, because you've been coding so much and so frequently and building different projects. So what this does is it gives you a handle on how different codes can be manipulated, or what are the flaws that you need to look out for while writing the code. So an auditor is basically an experienced developer who has some techniques or a method to identify flaws and vulnerabilities. So say for example, and I know Solidity, I mean, is not that older skill wherein you say that, you know, I have 10 years of expertise, hence I will be an auditor. But in one or year or 6 months or maybe 1.5 years, if you've been coding thoroughly on Solidity, then you must know that, there are certain things that you need to look out for while you are coding and stuff. And obviously, there are cohorts like ours and many other cohorts as well that do offer, strategies to look out for these flaws and vulnerabilities in contracts. So to summarize, I would say, learn Solidity and whatever comes before it, just the basics. Then practice on Solidity for some time, develop projects, showcase your projects at different hackathons, and try to get its flaws exploited by different people, and then develop your own techniques, and then also join different cohorts. Or there's a lot of substance available online, also a lot of Medium blogs. We have our own roadmaps to development and best resources and practices on our portal called Web3 Suggest as well, which indexes all the information about development and how to become developers and how to get into different careers into Web3 security and Web3 in general. And then probably just try to get some more experience by taking out bug bounties for different projects. So Immunify is one such platform that allows you access to different bug bounties by different protocols. So once you tend to go through the code for these protocols and try to understand what sort of vulnerabilities can be exploited or exposed, that would probably give you more experience and help you to understand how you can better your methods. So I think, I hope that answers the questions for public blockchains. And I mean, Karthik, I would love for you to sort of shed some light on how we can do the same for private blockchains. If I
Yeah,
mean, I'm sure
yeah,
there must be a difference.
yeah. So I also, as part of my day job, I also work for one of the big four where I do some kind of audits.
Mm.
And with my past experience in auditing some of the private blockchain, I would say your knowledge of understanding one architecture is very, very important. Like how the data flows through, how that entry point is there, and how well you can understand one architecture. Okay. And read as much as possible about the securities. That itself is very, very important. I'll give you one example. In every audit is very different basically to me. Whenever some audit will reach out to me, I have to think through the architecture first. And you can understand every project and every implementation is different in its own architecture. So there is no specific thing or thumb rule that we have to follow. Okay. So let's say if the architecture contains private key and public key of the user, so you have to think through, is the public key and private key secured properly? Is it put into HashiCorp wallet, or how it is like made secure? So some general principles you have to derive actually from the architecture itself, how the data is actually flowing, how everything is like kept in place, how well it is documented. Documentation plays a very vital role, at least for your team to understand and for others also to understand. So documentation plays a very important role. That also I believe is one part of auditing. When we audit, we also used to take care of how well you have documented certain stuff, like how are you protecting your password. There should not be single admin to one cloud provider or whatever cloud you are using. So first is, and very important is, read as much as and through all the architectures which are available. You can google it around what is the architecture of, let's say, broader architecture might be available for npci or something. Okay. So broader architecture of some supply chain must be available. The broader architecture of so many nfts are available. Architecture means, just not means the smart contract, some other api calls are how it is done. So there are several such examples which are already existing. Go through those architecture and understand, because since it's a private blockchain, your architecture is already in your control. Okay. So uh, when the architecture itself is in public blockchain, we don't deal much with the architecture because that is not in our control. Yeah. So reading as much as about the architecture, that will actually help. Okay. So I can take some questions on
I think
hyperledger.
Shane
Yeah.
has made a very valid point in terms of security of any project. I mean, as you were also mentioning, that probably the business logic and how things work apart from, the code part and the business operations work and the stakeholders involved are also very important. And I mean, more so, even in, I mean, in public blockchains, I would say, I mean, obviously the business logic is important. You need to understand how Uniswap or probably any other protocol is working. But what do you think is its implication in a private blockchain or in a private blockchain segment?
The question is for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I missed the question. I thought you were asking this question
No,
to
no, no,
Shane.
no.
I will
No.
allow Shane or to also to
Okay, okay.
explain.
So, please, if you can allow Shane to answer, that would be beautiful. Yeah.
Shane, are you
Hello.
comfortable? Yeah.
Hi. So yeah, I mean, we in my firm we actually deal mostly in the private blockchain, and we
Can you
did some
give one?
auditing.
I'm sorry, Shane, to interrupt. Can you give a brief introduction about yourself, and then you can take the question?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm currently a developer for the Southeast Asia blockchain lab for one of the big four. So the roles includes in like developing the proof of concept solutions and some auditing mainly for the central banks and enterprises. So yeah, so as I was saying, some of these risks, especially when dealing with a large and complex system such as like the central banks. So what we discovered is some of the vulnerabilities, right? It does not come from the codes, but mostly of what is not in the codes. So for example, like because they have their internal controls and they also have their governance that we have to match with our, like you said, infrastructure. So in case of, for example, is maybe I should give one example. For example, like is multi-sig really needed in the private blockchain, right? I know it is multi-sig, for example, in the public chain, it will be more secure in that way, but it's arguably introducing more risk if you are implementing it in the private blockchain. Why? Because now you have two wallets that you have to be secure, and this not only costs more, but it's also introduce more actors that interacting with the blockchains. So I guess this kind of like perspective on whoever thinking about making a career in a private blockchain space, that it depends on the industry, right? So if you're dealing with like a renewable energy industry, their requirements is way more different than the central bank or the banks or the financial institutions. So getting the understanding or on the how the operation works, who are the actors that we're dealing, I think this will be like a very, very important in developing a much more secure architecture. Yeah, that is.
Sure. I think on this note, I have to request Sanket, because
Yeah.
Sanket has has a case study to sort of present, which has which is absolutely interesting in this context. And Sanket, do you want to share
Yeah.
that piece of information with us, please?
I'll share my screen.
All right. All right.
Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, right. So on 2nd of December, am I audible, guys?
Yes.
Okay, on 2nd of December 2022, we had Ankr Protocol, which was, exploited, and more than $5 million dollars were lost. And not only were they lost, other protocols using their services also, had to bear the brunt of this crash. So, I'll just briefly explain what Ankr Protocol is. So Ankr Protocol was based on DLT, and was basically an integral part of, the new web. And this was before Web3 was termed as Web3. There were just cryptocurrencies and blockchain and the different underlying technology. So so we'll just talk about its staking platform. It has a lot of different services, but we'll just talk about the staking protocol, since that was the part that was hacked. So Ankr, basically what it does is it allows you to stake your cryptocurrencies for different blockchains, and in return and uh, it gives you its own cryptocurrency called A ETH or ABNB or A Matic, which basically what you can do is it represents the currency that you had deposited plus the staking rewards for that currency. And that is how the pool of users that had staked their currencies are rewarded through the Ankr currencies. You can deploy development nodes and build the apps and everything. But there are a lot of benefits to becoming stakers on Ankr Web3 platform, uh, you know which result from basically two types of tokens, a Ankr B and Ankr C. So you will see two types of tokens moving forward, ABNB B and ABNB C. So the two types of tokens are basically reward earning and reward bearing tokens. So ABNB B is a reward earning token. So basically, the number of these tokens increases in your wallet, and it's pegged 1 to BNB. So for example, if so for example, one ABNB is equal to one BNB. So then if your reward is 2 BNB and you had deposited 100 BNB, so currently you will have 102 ABNB B. And the other token is ABNBC, which basically just represents the tokens, the reward, but in terms of the value of the token. So if you had deposited 100 BNB and your reward is 102 BNB, then your ABNBC will still be 100, but the value of each ABNBC will increase. Yeah. So okay. So basically, as I mentioned, the ABNB B and the ABNB C were the two models. of tokens in which Anchor used to reward its users, right? So they were actually updating some of the reward policies and schemes in the contracts for these two tokens. And while updating these contracts, they were using the private key. But the hacker, while the update was going on, was able to steal the keys. Because of the update, the private key was not, and the private key was not completely secured. So the hacker was able to, just steal the private key from the deployer's wallet which allowed them to gain absolute control of the wallet, and allowed the attacker to mint more tokens to his address. So as you can see on the screen, the attacker minted 10 trillion tokens to his address. So these are some of the on-chain details. I'll share this PPT with you guys so that you can see what actually happened and make more sense of the flow of things. So these are the address, and I mean, obviously on different block explorers, you can go and check what actually happened. But if you go to Nansen dot portfolio, it allows you to see basically that what are the funds in each of these address. So if you just go to Nansen and you can just paste these contracts right now, I think the funds would be depleted, but around 2nd December when it happened, you would see that how the hacker had implemented the contracts and minted 10 trillion tokens of ABNB to his own wallet. This is a short activity that anyone can do. Yeah, so basically, this is what I was talking about. From a null address, the hacker, had deployed this contract. And if you want to see how this implementation contract was created, so Anchor was, so this is the hacker only, the deployer, because he had the private key. So it uses basically the hacker used the private key to deploy A, B, and B C tokens, which are the reward earning tokens, which means the value of the token increases instead of the number of tokens increasing. And he implemented this to mint more tokens. So now you can see in this transaction, after minting the tokens, he had transferred these tokens to his own wallet, and for that he had to pay a gas fee. And for this gas fee, he transferred the 1.125 BNB from deployer's compromise wallet to his own wallet. So you can see that not even the gas fee the hacker had to spend of his own. So in different attack vulnerabilities, or maybe you can see even like a honeypot or anything, mostly what hackers do is they use their own funds firstly to get a sense of liquidity and how the pools are working and everything. But in this case, hacker did not have to spend anything. Why? Because he had already gotten access of the private key of the deployer's wallet. So, I mean, it's one of the most basic things to keep your private key most secure, and we often take it very lightly that, it's the private key, and obviously no one would expose it. But if such a multi-billion protocol could do such a simple mistake, then probably, we should implement more cybersecurity protocols, or probably use a cold storage or whatever. There are a lot of different ways to keep your private key secure, even while exposing it, while updating your protocol. But there are a lot of things you can do to safeguard your private key while doing such updates, and such a protocol should have kept them in mind, given the fact that more than, I think almost $30 billion have been lost in more than 800 hacks in the past 7 or 8 years. And in the last year alone, I think around 2.53 billion dollars have been lost. So, and obviously, after minting all these tokens and depleting the pools from PancakeSwap of BNB, ABNB tokens, he started, just transferring the amounts to Tornado Cash after bridging the funds to Ethereum and Polygon using the Seller network and the multi-chain, or um, you can see the use of Seller network to convert the funds to Ethereum, to convert USDC, Binance Peg USDC to Ethereum and to Polygon, and then sending those funds to Tornado Cash. And Tornado Cash is basically, I mean, it's a protocol for laundering cash, so basically you put some funds into Tornado Cash, and it divides the funds into multiple wallets and different things. Basically, it allows you I mean, not exactly launder, but transfer cash and make it more difficult for other people to track the flow of funds by distributing these funds into different wallets, different accounts, different currencies, that sort of stuff. So you can see immediately after the crash, this happened. And another interesting impact of the price dropping was that there is this protocol, or maybe another staking platform called Helios. So yeah, so there is this another protocol called Helios, which is a staking platform. It uses a delayed, I mean, it uses an oracle, but the information of A, B, and B, C dropping by 100% was, you know, it was delayed. So the information did not reach to them in time, because of which the one of the hacker was basically, what they did was they put I mean, they deposited, I think, 183,000 ABNBC and took out a loan of 16 million dollars in Hay stablecoins. So basically, using 183,000 tokens of ABNBC, they were able to extract 16 million dollars worth of stablecoins. Yeah, so as you can see on different chains, so Tornado Cash, as I mentioned, it helps you to convert and send cash, send funds into different wallets, and it's sort of untraceable. The hacker used Tornado Cash to convert funds to different tokens of different blockchains. So if you can see, there is one, there is BNB, and then there is Matic, Polygon Matic, and then there is Ethereum. So three different chains he used, three different tokens on three different chains to send it to Tornado Cash, and basically make the funds untraceable for the authorities. So as I mentioned, about Helios also. So I mean, post that exploit, the primary motive of Ankr has become to alert different organizations or different platforms that have allowed the trading of ABNB tokens, basically Ankr peg tokens, to stop trading. And obviously, we had to use a new private key and secure all their smart contracts with the key to prevent the tampering. I mean, next, the current steps that Ankr could take for ensuring that all the users are none of the users are harmed in the long run, and there is still some trust in their protocol, because even though the staking protocol did make some mistakes, Ankr protocol also offers a myriad of different services which people will still keep on using regardless of the hack. So they had to instill confidence in people so that they don't stop using Anchor's different other different services. So firstly, I mean, they should ensure that all the liquidity providers to different pools on different protocols are identified about, I mean, the people who provided liquidity to pools in which these tokens were traded, they are identified, they are, just notified about the hack, and they are notified about what actually happened and how Ankr can compensate them. So then obviously they will have to purchase $5 million of BNB, which was the amount that the hacker ran away with. And they would have to fill in the damage created to different liquidity pools. Um, but in this case, there were two types of people. One were the liquidity providers that were caught off guard, right? And the other type of people were they knew that the hack happened. They were also liquidity providers, but then they made use of this information that Airbnb's price had dipped by almost 100%. And by making use of this information, they actually were able to dump the token and make profits. So it will be interesting to see how Anchor can identify, probably by taking snapshots of the before and after of funds of wallets. So yeah, and then this is in their scheme of things to launch new Anchor BNB tokens and airdrop to affected ABNBC and ABNB B users by, as I mentioned, taking snapshots of users who were affected before and after the exploit actually happened. Yeah, so the snapshot. Okay, so yeah, as a user, the primary task should be that you should stop buying ABNBC tokens at any point from any pool, and just wait for the Anchor BNB airdrop and just redeem it against the stake BNB. Yeah, so that was it. Thank you.
Very interesting, Sanket. Indeed, it's very important to sort of be as an end user. It's very all the more important to know about these hacks. So one of the things that we also do, in this context is that we publish a well-researched, well-studied newsletter that is, that is curated for the benefit of not only people who are technologically, informed about the audits and programming languages and everything, but also to people who are in the world of investing, who are interested in engaging with projects and things like that. So I think from that standpoint, following our newsletter is very important because that is absolutely great wealth of information that you are getting at your fingertips every week, and a very highly curated, valuable information. Shane has a question for us. Do you guys have any involvement with proof of reserves audit? If any, what are the key risks and takeaways from the project?
Yeah, so at the moment, we don't do proof of reserve audits because primarily it deals with issuing a Merkle hash certificate by checking. I mean, it's just not something that at the moment we are involved with. I mean, there are a lot of different organizations that are into this. In fact, I think someone from our team has shared the reference for Web3 Suggest. So to ensure that you invest into protocols and exchanges that do have a Merkle certificate or a um, proof of reserve, we have created a list of exchanges that do have a proof of reserve or a Merkle certificate to ensure that you only invest. I mean, the FTX, you don't lose money in disasters like the FTX. So that is there in Web3 Suggest. Yeah. But at the moment, to answer your question, we don't do proof of reserve audits.
Okay. If
Kartikey,
it,
do you mind if I ask a question? I think I
Mm,
just
please.
wanted to ask, are there any security best practices or guidelines that organizations should follow when when they are using, or probably they are considering the using of Hyperledger?
yeah, so there are almost uh, same kind of guidelines what we do for public blockchain as well. Here specifically, what is very much important is how well we keep our private key, public key secure in some wallets, like HashiCorp wallet or something. And then the architecture point of view, you have to build the whole architecture by yourself. Like we do it on Kubernetes mostly. So Kubernetes pod should be well secured, and The other aspect, it relies again on which cloud you are using, let's say Azure or something. Then you have to understand more details about the security of the cloud and how well protected you are on your cloud by firewalls and some other kind of security aspects. When it comes to blockchain stuff, it's about the private key, public key, how it is secured, and rest all is almost same how we do it for other applications which are on Kubernetes or on cloud securities. Okay. I can take few more
Thank
questions.
you.
Are there any third-party security audits or certifications for Hyperledger projects? Do you have
No,
any recognized?
Hyperledger, basically officially they don't give anything, but I still recommend that one should definitely go through cloud architecture and cloud certification, cyber securities, and that will be very, very much important. Then about the DevOps, if they have some DevOps security certification done for Docker, Kubernetes, those things will be very, very much helpful.
But how does Hyperledger also ensure the integrity of the data, like on the network, for example, to prevent tampering or manipulating of the records? Is there any built processes that protects the integrity of the data itself?
So for integrity purpose, we depend on the consensus, how this consensus is actually working, and we also provide the explorer. What Sanket was showing us as also an explorer where you can identify, verify several other things. So the explorer for Hyperledger is also same, where it helps you to investigate any transaction which have happened, and it's a permission blockchain. So uh, whenever we are enrolling one organization, so it's a closed consortium, so the different organization make one consortium to uh, for this private blockchain, and these organization have their own set of rules which they can write in some YAML file. Those rules are very, very critical to examine, and those rules, uh, you can understand. I'm just giving you a very generic and layman example how Hyperledger used to work. Uh, when somebody is joining the consortium, they have to uh, go through the rules which we have already written, and those rules are very much critical to examine. So those rules are written in this YAML files, and the certification also we should do is for Hyperledger Foundation gives their own certification. If you do the certification, you will get to understand all uh, details, and understanding the best understanding you will get once you pass that examination for Hyperledger about the YAML files, how these are actually configured. So configuring one organization is a very critical part. Cloud security is the second critical part, and third is this thing, what we say, private key and public key security. Rest, smart contract is same how we do. Smart contract also exist in private blockchain. Hyperledger allows you to have a smart contract in different languages. There are primarily three: Golang, uh, then JavaScript, and one is Java. Okay, and smart contracts in this is mostly analyzed manually. So there are no such tools which Hyperledger is providing currently for the chain code. Here, the smart contract is called as chain code. To analyze such chain code, we are still trying to develop such tools where you can analyze your chain code. So primarily, there are four things I would say. First is this configuration file, then the cloud security, then this is smart contract, and last is the DevOps infrastructure security.
Awesome. Thank you for the answer.
Yeah, so okay, so I mean, I just wanted to ask, since I don't have a lot of exposure with Hyperledger in public blockchains, we use cryptographic hashing to maintain the integrity. So I mean, is it the same case with Hyperledger, since you did mention, I mean, the bit about the chain code? So is that how it works with Hyperledger as well?
Can you please repeat the question? I couldn't follow. I was
Okay,
just
okay.
reading one of the comment
Okay,
which
okay, that's okay. No, so I was just saying that in public blockchains you have cryptographic hashing,
yes.
and that's how, I mean, sort of
Mm,
smart contracts also do work
mm.
on blockchain. So since you did mention about the chain code in Hyperledger as well, so do we also have cryptographic hashing to maintain
Yes,
integrity with Hyperledger?
yes, yes. Yes, it's same as it is. So how we have a typical blockchain, uh, like previous hash is matching with the next hash and all. So the blocks are created in such a way. So
Yep.
that's how same thing happens here. But little bit difference is we don't have continuous blocks flowing up. Whenever there is one transaction, that will form one block. So in
Okay.
public blockchain, what happens? There are like 30, 20, or sometimes
Yeah.
hundreds of transactions in one block. So
One
here what
block.
happens? Whenever there is one transaction, that will create a block. And meanwhile, it will be silent. And if there are two transactions at the time, it will take two. But on an average, there is only one transaction at one time in one block. So this and also the cryptographic things is same. It uses R256 to hash it, and there's some encryption and same kind of block structure. The only difference I can say, the major big difference you can visualize is the formation of block. In public blockchain, there is continuous block which is flowing up whenever transaction is coming. It's just capturing, bundling all the transaction. But here in this case, what happens is it just sits for, even in uh, private Ethereum.
Yeah.
Uh, in private Ethereum also there is like blocks are like keep on generating
Yep.
even when the data is not there.
Hmm.
Even with even some transaction is not happening, the blocks will be keep on generating. But when it comes to Hyperledger, the blocks will appear only when you do some kind of transaction.
Understood.
And will,
Thank
yeah.
you.
So if you have some more question from audience, we'll take up. And the last half an hour is only for audience if they want to interact with us. If we don't have, we'll wind
Yeah.
up. So Shane, Ashok, anybody?
I probably have a question, right? So, do you deal with any tokenization on Hyperledger Fabric? And if that is the case, and how would you ensure that the tokenization is as secure as those implemented by the standard of ERC, for example?
Yeah, so with the latest release of Hyperledger 2.0, uh, they have given us this flexibility to have our own ERC 721, ERC 20, or any such Solidity EVM based smart contract. But it really depends on the use case where you want to use the ERC20. Okay, since it's a private blockchain, for what purpose we will be using it? Your token will have no value until you list it on some exchange. I think that's the thing. So uh, still figuring out if the use case is demanding, if the use case requires such kind of token, then we should use it. Otherwise, I'm still thinking for a best use case where ERC20 or such thing can be, good fit for Hyperledger based application or architecture. Did you get my point?
Yeah, but in terms of the implementation, right? So, for example, is that the use case of tokenizing, like for example, like electricity. So on
Okay.
this, and we want to create an NFT of it. So, if you personally, would you choose Fabric or Besu for this purpose?
Yeah, I'll choose. See, since this is a good use case. Let's say for tokenizing electricity grid, how much electricity you are using. This for this purpose, I'll definitely use Hyperledger Fabric because it is taking us to a private consortium. Okay, so these electricities will be privately dealt. We need not to put it on public blockchain, and a Besu based private blockchain I'll prefer. Hyperledger Besu based private blockchain. That will be more helpful than Hyperledger Fabric because Hyperledger Fabric comes with a lot of configuration details and some different other things. And Besu will get rid of us, and masses can adopt it very easily.
Is there any security concern on tokenizing like the I know that we can deploy the ERC contract in Fabric, right? But
Mm.
it does not work the same as the one that you deploy on the Ethereum chain. Is my understanding correct?
See, security concerns for this one will be as same as how we do it in public blockchain. Maybe what Sanket and Pradeep are discussing is about, let's say, if ERC20 is deployed, then what are the vulnerabilities are there in the smart contract? Same vulnerabilities will be here because both the smart contracts are same. So we, in that case, the security concerns will be only those controls which we look for a normal ERC20 in public blockchain.
All right, thank you.
I mean,
Then
do you guys have any more questions? We would love to take them up. Anyone else?
Kartikey, I have a question about a generic question about
yes,
in the interest of auditors who might be interested to take up a career in enterprise blockchains or permission blockchains. You said there are internal processes that you follow for Hyperledger. So if somebody wants to become an expert in enterprise blockchain or permission blockchain, what kind of certifications or probably what kind of training would help? Does Hyperledger conduct any security related trainings in specific in the interest of people who are interested in this field?
yeah. See, when it comes to private blockchain, it's just not one technology. So yesterday I was reading about some funny meme on LinkedIn itself. Like there was one hiring happening for blockchain expert, and below that they have written, "There's nothing like blockchain expert. There are different blockchains available right now. Polygon, Ethereum, many are there." And when it comes to private blockchain, it's just combination of all those technologies we have gone through. It has DevOps, it have Node.js, completely Node.js. The smart contract is also in Node.js. APIs is also in Node.js. Your securities with cloud, how well you can secure firewalls, many other things. So you need to be expert of each of those things. You have to get one certificate for Kubernetes. You have to get one certificate for maybe in securities of Kubernetes, uh, or maybe you have to get. Definitely, you should have one certification for cloud security. You should have one certification for Hyperledger Foundation from Hyperledger Foundation itself for Hyperledger Fabric. So combining all those, you can get this thing. Is that answer clear? You have to
Yeah.
be expert of uh, cloud security. You have to do one cloud security. Let it be GCP,
Hmm.
AWS, or Azure, or anything, because you
Right.
will be ultimately hosting it on that. Then some normal cyber security is related to APIs. Okay, your
Right.
APIs are written in Node.js. Then your infrastructure is based on Kubernetes. You have to be expertise on Kubernetes as well. Then you have to get one certification for Hyperledger Foundation itself, uh, some anything like that.
Right.
So that will
So
be
we
so
have
bunch of those technologies will help.
sure, sure. So we have a question also from Ashok. He is asking, I would like to know the demand for auditors as a career in the future. So I would say, Ashok, I think the technology itself is evolving in a positive direction, and there is a lot of there is a lot of hopes in on this technology to be replacing the existing ones, right? So from that standpoint, you can already witness the kind of innovations that are happening in the NFT space, in the DeFi space, in the enterprise blockchain, like Hyperledger itself. So the undeniable fact of any technology that is evolving is the security aspect of it, which remains as one of the concerns, which has remained in the past, which will also remain in the future as one of the important aspects. So security guys will always have a demand, I would say. And because this is an evolving technology, it is all the more important that security guys are in the forefront of any innovation and take part actively in any product development or so. So from that context as well, the auditors become a very integral part of any Web3 project. I hope this answers your question, Ashok. Thanks.